moving on. LSU football potentially favored by Las Vegas. Now, it's interesting because the season's going to start in Las Vegas. So this is going to be the kickoff game that a lot of people across the country are going to be tuning into. And LSU has not really fared well in season openers throughout the last couple of years. They're on a 4-year losing skid. They lost 4 straight season openers. The last season opener that they won was, of course, in 2019 versus Georgia Southern, but Mississippi State the year after, UCLA, and then the 2 years with Brian Kelly, losing to Florida State to start the season. This USC game gets, a little more interesting because you've seen LSU cough one up early here for 4 straight seasons. You're kind of wondering if they're going to change the tune a little bit. This is a tough matchup for them to be able to do that against because USC isn't just, any ordinary team. This is going to be their first year in the Big Ten. They're stepping out of that Pac-12. Who knows what's going on with that conference? But, the Big Ten is, I think it's gaining some credibility because you got the national champions in that conference. You got Ohio State as well. It isn't the SEC, but it is the second best conference in college football. So I'll go ahead and give them, a little bit of credit where credit's due. I think the interesting part of USC and what their success will be contingent off of is that quarterback battle. Everybody would tell you, if you have multiple quarterbacks, you got none. They're going to have to figure out this situation here between Miller Moss and UNLV transfer, Jaden Maeva. And I know what you're thinking, UNLV, what? He almost went to Georgia. So pump the brakes. He's reputable. He could potentially get that job under Miller Moss, who's a 2-year backup. Has been there with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams for the last 2 seasons. Sat under them. Kind of got some of the scheme understood. So I think either direction you go, you got talent on one side, you got structure, chemistry, reliability on the other. It could be an interesting game. I think LSU might need time in the beginning. You can compare this to the Wisconsin Bowl game where Nussmeier kind of needed to get his legs under him a little bit in his first start. Now, you won't have Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. in the first half, but you will have some other weapons that you're going to be able to utilize. I think LSU gets it done. I think they're going to get this win. The spread, though, -7. I don't know if I'm taking that. Might bump that one down to -3, match that with the Alabama spread, and I'll call that one a lock. Moving on to Alabama, though, this could be the first time in well over a decade that LSU is the favorite against Alabama. I mean, yeah, you got them coming down to Tiger Stadium, but I think the biggest question mark on this team is Nick Saban retiring. I feel like anybody can tell you that. However, there's a lot of potential for Alabama to go undefeated and at the midpoint of the season walk into Tiger Stadium as the favorite. I don't think that this line might, it definitely could swing. I don't think it's going to be locked here forever. It's going to be definitely contingent on how Kalen DeBoer is going to be able to transition, if he's going to be able to ignore that Nick Saban shadow, if he's going to be able to be himself and, implement his ways, which I think work. I think he could be a good fit. I think this is definitely a good step. I mean, you see Washington creep into legitimacy last year, and everyone's kind of like, okay, this could be a team. You got Michael Penix Jr., runner-up for Heisman. You're runner-up for the national championship. I think, they were on the right track. But adversity strikes, and Kalen DeBoer loses his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, to the Seattle Seahawks. And that kind of threw a wrench in some things, and it kind of made Vegas wonder, are they going to be able to figure it out? Well, when you got Jalen Milroe, it's probably going to be hard not to figure it out. I'd argue Jalen Milroe is in a situation to potentially be the best quarterback in college football. Yeah, you got Shadur Sanders, you got Quinn Ewers, and you got people like Jackson Dart. I'll throw Will Rogers in there too. I'll throw him out. I won't forget about Buddy, but I think Jalen Milroe is in the situation to be like a Jaden Daniels where he can come back, develop his game, and build off of the huge end of the season that he had. Look at what Jalen did to teams like LSU. I think that, if he can replicate some of those performances this year, not only will he be in the Heisman conversation, not only will he be in the top of the draft conversation, but I think they might be able to creep into Tiger Stadium favorites. They might be able to creep into the college football playoff conversation. The brand is still huge. I don't think that they're going to have a lot of skeptics if they can jump into the year, start 4-0, 5-0. Everyone's going to think, all right, Bama didn't miss a beat. So it's going to be the only thing I would watch is the start of the season for this team. And other than that, if it's, they get a loss, they might, get 2 losses before they come into LSU, then I think it could be a huge game, a huge win for a new era of LSU versus Alabama, but this game will be interesting because Brian Kelly's walking into there 1-1. His first year against Nick Saban, he wins. Of course, his second year, starting quarterback gets hurt, and then they lose, unfortunately. But this third season, this is the rubber match, so to speak. You get to see what way the tide is going to turn in this rivalry. I think Brian Kelly, he's aware of that. And the fact that it's at home is huge. It gives a big boost. And Vegas, of course, is going to lean towards LSU at the minus 2.5. I'd take it. I would take minus 2.5. 3-point spread. I'd put that on both of them, USC and the Bama game. I'd say those way too early college football odds provided by FanDuel. Those are some locks.